Well, the number of people fleeing conflict zones comes on top of new figures released from the UN, which reveal more than 65 million people worldwide are now displaced. That's the highest level ever recorded. Children make up around half of all refugees around the world. Let's get more on the world refugee crisis and speak to Dr. Gopal Krishna Siwakoti, who joins us live from Kathmandu. He's chair at Asia Pacific Refugee Rights Network. Dr. Gopal, many thanks for joining us. Now, there's been very much a focus on Europe's migrant crisis, but I was really interested to read that the Asia Pacific receives some of the largest inflows of migrants in the world. What kind of numbers are we talking about, and where are they coming from?
While we are marking the World Refugee Day today, the Asia Pacific region is still the home of a little more than 8 million people of concern to UNHCR. And they include around 3.5 million refugees, which constitutes around 30% altogether in the global number, 1.9 million IDPs, internally displaced persons, and 1.4 million plus million stateless people. So the majority of refugees in the region originate from Afghanistan and Myanmar, and also from China, Tibet. And there are a heavy refugee concentration also from Sri Lanka into India. And of course, the Rohingya refugees fleeing persecution to different countries in East Asia and some in South Asia. And Afghanistan still has the highest number of refugee influx in the globe. And Pakistan is hosting more than 1.6 registered and around 8 million unregistered refugees.
It's interesting that you mentioned the Rohingyas, because last year this time we saw some harrowing scenes of hundreds of refugees from Myanmar, also from Bangladesh, abandoned at sea in boats, trying to get to countries like Malaysia, Thailand and Indonesia, literally starving to death on those boats. I know those countries have been under pressure to take in these refugees. What is the latest on that crisis in particular?
The crisis is on. The persecution still continues inside Myanmar, in Rakhine State. So people are fleeing. This is not a sailing season now, but in October the new sailing season begins, and there will be a number of boats leaving for either for Thailand or Malaysia, and so there is little kind of attention from the world community now, because the Burmese government still does not recognize them as their own population. In the latest census, they've been either considered as Bengali origin or stateless population. So this is one of the major issues of contentions about the Rohingyas population. So because of non-protection on that side of the world, now they have also started moving towards South Asia. Now there are almost 100 Rohingyas fresh arrival in India, and there are a few in Nepal, and also in Pakistan and other parts of the Western Asia side as well. So there is no light at the end of the tunnel towards the protection of the Rohingya population now.
There was a lot of pressure on Malaysia and Thailand and Indonesia, I remember this period last year. But obviously, it seems like nothing has changed. Is part of the problem that there's no legislation in any of these countries on refugee protection?
Exactly. Out of 45 countries in the Asia Pacific, only 20 countries have ratified the 1950 Convention. And most of the countries in the region do not have a national legislative framework. That means people fleeing persecution do not have legal protection in majority of the countries. So whatever protection exists is all ad hoc. It is all based on some traditional hospitality or some sort of ad hoc measures. Otherwise, so they do not feel protected in that sense. So they are always in a floating situation, destitute without destination. You're right. So and then the other issue is now the Australian policy to take U-turn towards the protection of refugees is also sending a very wrong signal to the to other countries who are hosting refugees in Asia Pacific region. So like offshore processing and then taking the people towards, dungeon islands in Manus Island or in, PNG, outsourcing them, and the, horrifying stories coming out of the detention centers in Manus Island is really, is troubling in refugee protection in the region. So because most of the countries in transition are also not party to the convention, and because of the mixed migratory flow, the pain and plight of refugees fleeing persecution has been grossly ignored, and their protection issue has been grossly jeopardized.
Okay, Dr. Gopal, really good of you to join us today. Dr. Gopal Krishna Siwakoti is chair of the Asia Pacific Refugee Rights Network, speaking to me live there.